kind of mixed feelings on this one. I get to fly Mike's L-16 down to California for a really cool vintage fly-in, but then I have to leave it there because he's selling the airplane, which is a little bit of a sad day because I know how much Mike loves this airplane, and the fact that he's having to find a new home for it is a little bit of a bummer. So that's the adventure I'm taking you on today. Is going to be the trip south. So whenever Mike gets to the hangar here, we'll get the door open and we'll get going on our way. Well, this video kind of marks the end of an era for this little YouTube channel, as it started with Mike making some short videos to record his adventures in the L-16 to enjoy in the off-season. That said, this story starts with a conversation with my friend Hannah, who flies this red Stinson, and basically she called me up one day and said, "Hey Lars, we need to go to Last Ditch," which is a really cool vintage aircraft gathering down in Esparto, California, once a year. And it's an invitation-only event, but we managed to get an invite, and so this year we decided to go. And about a week after we started making plans, Mike called me up and said, "Hey Lars, can you take the L-16 down to Placerville, drop it off with the guy at Skywagons University, and he's going to broker a sale for the airplane for me?" And so I told him, yeah, actually I can, because I'm going to be down there anyway, and I can drop the airplane off. I'll fly back with my friend Hannah. And so that's how this whole adventure came to be. So on a beautiful Thursday morning in September, we got the L-16 out, and I set off on my way south, departing out westbound along the Columbia River Gorge, flying past some of my favorite landmarks, and revisiting a few of the places that Mike and I have adventured to in this airplane over the last couple of years.
See if there's any tourists waving at us from the top of Rooster Rock. Thing is, like, I've climbed Rooster Rock. There's one little observation corner, and I look down the river both ways. I'm like, are there any airplanes coming? Like, I want to wave at people. And I have never seen a rooster. So, right? I mean, I'm like, if I want my money back with interest. Yeah. But yeah, I think, actually, isn't this Beacon Rock? Oh, you're right. That's why I haven't seen. Yeah. It's really rare to see a rooster on Beacon Rock. Yeah.
The next stop that I made after departing the Dalles was Stargazer, which is this beautiful grass strip over on the Sandy River that Mike and I both enjoy taking the L-16 out to. And I kind of found myself after the fact going back and remembering all the little adventures and side quests we'd had to these places. At the time of the flight, I was just enjoying myself, but looking back on the video footage, I started remembering some of the other side quests we'd gone on over the last couple of years.
Oh, butter, margarine type butter.
After visiting Stargazer, one of our favorite spots and one of my favorite restoration shops, I got back on my way south, and shortly after departing, encountered a marine layer that is pretty common in the Willamette Valley. Fortunately, I was able to find an airport where I could stop and wait for conditions to improve a little bit, and soon enough was back on my way with beautiful conditions and rising ceilings. After passing Redding into Northern California, I stopped at Willows and got dinner at Nancy's Airport Cafe, which wound up being my first real meal of the day while I waited for Hannah to catch up to me so we could arrive at the Last Ditch fly-in as a flight of 2. Unfortunately, as I was enjoying my dinner, I began to watch the sun get close to the horizon, and flying an aircraft with no electrical system and no lights means I legally had to be on the ground at sunset. So I couldn't wait any longer for Hannah and eventually had to press on.
It's a race against daylight to try and get to the airport I'm going to. They also have no airport lighting there. Before that thing goes below the horizon. So, according to my phone and brief amount of search, I have 28 minutes to cover about 35 miles. Allegedly, I'm going 90 miles an hour according to the airspeed indicator. Sure, there's like no wind. So, I might make it. It's going to be close.
Well, this should be kind of obvious. We made it. I think I touched down like 1 minute before legal sunset. It was down to the wire. And then, unfortunately, because I was trying to beat the sunset, I wasn't able to stay back and form up with Hannah. So we were going to arrive together, but that didn't happen. So anyway, we'll have to do some shenanigans another time. Maybe on the way home.
The last ditch fly-in wound up being one of the absolute highlights of my year. Got to meet a lot of really fun people, had a great time, got to see some incredible airplanes, and even got to go for a ride in a really cool airplane, as well as take some other people for rides in the L-16 before we took it over to Placerville. We went out and we did some formation flights with friends, and we got some pictures and videos of our little side quests, and generally just made a lot of awesome memories on this trip. Soon enough, Sunday morning rolled around and I had to take the L-16 over to Placerville. So Hannah and I departed, headed eastbound, and soon enough dropped off the L-16. I got in the Stinson with Hannah and we started the trek back north, leaving the L-16 behind so it can find its next home. I find it kind of amusing how we start to personify these aircraft and give them a soul and a story, even though at the end of the day it's really just a collection of tube steel and wood and some fabric stretched over it so it can create lift. But somehow the whole is worth more than the sum of its parts, and even though this little L-16 is just a simple airplane that doesn't really make a difference in the world if it continues to exist or fly or not, it's a wonderful little airplane, and I think it's really the history and the stories and the memories that make these things special to people. And so while I may never see this champ again, somewhere in the back of my mind I hope that someday Mike will get to take it out again and add one more story to that list of memories.
Well, the champ is here, so bye, champ.